Hello, everyone. We are in a better mood because we are moving on and we're getting ready for the Utes. It is the Bet Online Salute to Troy podcast. We have a full cast here. Our man Ryan is off for travel, able to join us today. We'll start with Ryan, fresh from South Bend, Indiana. How are you doing today, Ryan?
What's up? I missed you guys. I felt like a hole in my heart or stomach not being there on Monday, but way to hold it down. But yeah, happy to move past that game, look to the future. Always a fun game when Utah comes to town. So happy to get into it, but more happy to be back with the three of you.
We're rolling to our world-class athlete who still has her. All those noises you hear is her. That's why she made that face. While you fix your sound, how are you doing, Candice?
I'm doing just fine. We go high school playoffs start tomorrow. My team is 34-0, so it'll be interesting.
How many years is that? That's not one season, right?
No, that's like the last two seasons. And tonight we had our senior dinner, so it was sentimental. But we still got 5 more games with quarters, semis, districts, and then the big show was at Ford Field.
What about the Persia Doughboys?
We'll have to go live. What'd you say?
What about the Persia Doughboys? Y'all play the Persia Doughboys?
We don't play the Persia Doughboys. If we could, Michigan has this real old school rule that doesn't allow us to travel outside of our neighboring states that we touch, and if we do, it can't be more than 320 miles. We are.
The Persia Doughboys are in Detroit.
Oh, yes. No, we don't play them. I don't think they're in our division.
Oh, okay. And last but not least, we have the mad scientist, Mr. PhD himself, Jamal Magman Magny. How you doing, Jamal?
Doing well, Fred. Excited to talk about the Utes, and great to get into it here on this lovely Thursday.
I have a question for you, Jamal, because my wife asked and I couldn't answer the question. Do you have your PhD?
I have a doctorate in education, in organizational behavior.
Okay, so you do have a PhD. Okay, good deal. Because she listened, she was like, how many degrees does he have? I was like, I don't know, like 12. Definitely. The Trojans are coming back home to the Coliseum.
Always nice to be the butt of all jokes on this show.
I mean,
I think it's the highest praise.
That's what I'm saying. We're talking about how smart you are.
Oh, pish posh.
The Trojans come back to the Coliseum to take on the Utah Utes in a revenge game, going 0-2 last year. But this is a lot different game. No Cam Rising, no Kincaid. But Caleb is back. But there's no Jordan Addison, right? So there's a lot of things going on here. SC just got taken behind the barn shed. Utah is good. Well, isn't as good as they were last year. But one thing that still stands with Utah, they're tough as nails. And it's going to take a lot of grit to get through the Utes, right? So we have a lot of that going on. There's outside noise now happening with SC involving Caleb Williams. Lincoln Riley said today they took a loss, but at the end of the day, they're still undefeated in the best conference in America, and that is something to be proud of. But in reality, we talked about this, we know where we are. So expectations have to be realistic. SC is a 7-point favorite. I don't think SC will cover. I think this game will be closer because all their games are close. Like, we have to play what it is. But my question for you guys as we go around the table, how much improvement do we see from Caleb Williams? And the reason why I asked that question of how much improvement do we see from Caleb Williams, because when you realistically look at it, his last 2 games, he has not been great. He wasn't great in Tucson. He wasn't great in South Bend. So are we going to see a reemergence of the Caleb Williams that we expect to see, or is it a plateau and we're just going to see this is the Caleb Williams we're going to see for the rest of the year? I would like to start that question with the Ryan, since you were absent from class on Monday.
I always start regardless. No, I mean, I think we definitely will see an improvement. Hard to get any more regression than what we saw last week. I think the bigger question is, will we see improvement from the offensive line? And when you look at this Utah front, I mean, no joke. And this Utah offense, obviously, we'll get to, is not as strong as they've been in the past with, as you mentioned, no Cam Rising and no Delta Kincaid, but this defense is maybe better than they've been recently. I think they're 9th in total defense in the country, and Notre Dame is 14th. And so SC got taken back because of that Notre Dame defense. And I think going against this Utah front is going to definitely be a challenge. So I think Caleb Williams will absolutely be improved. But will this offensive line, and Lincoln Riley talked about today on the presser, that there's potential that they'll try some different combinations out on the offensive line, and whether that's at center, outside of Jonah Monheim, it seems like they're pretty open to kind of rotating anyone out of the other 4 positions. So we'll see what that looks like. But to answer your question, I think Caleb definitely plays better, definitely is more poised, but I'm not expecting him to have like a 456 touchdown game. I mean, it's going to be a tough battle, but if he just plays smart and doesn't make these uncharacteristic mistakes we saw last week with the 3 interceptions, 2 of those being in their own red zone, then, that's what you expect from this Heisman candidate and the greatness that is Caleb. So I think he'll get back to what he does, but it's not going to be all of a sudden this explosion of a game, because just that's disrespectful to what Utah's defense can do.
Didn't he have 7 last year against Utah in the 2 games that he played against them?
Yeah,
he had 7. So we should expect 4.
In 2 games.
In 2 games, 7 in 2 games, right?
Yeah.
So we should expect 4. That is the standard. Jamal, go ahead.
4 is good. I just said not 6.
No, I expect Caleb to bounce back. I think that the game against Notre Dame was quite an anomaly for him, no question about it. I think as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, it's going to be a significant improvement. I think Ryan said it best. This is yet another team that is going to have the key ingredient on USC, and that is being able to get pressure with 4. And when you're able to get pressure with 4, then you can use the back 7 however you like. You can drop them back, create crowded passing lanes. You can do things like delayed corner blitzes, delayed linebacker blitzes. You have a lot at your disposal. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Caleb changes his game a little bit. Now, this is the 3rd straight game they're going to play a team that's going to follow this book, and the 2nd straight game that is going to do it with terrific athletes. So I'm curious to see how Caleb evolves his game, and maybe he doesn't hold the ball as long. Maybe he doesn't try and improvise as much and extend plays as much. He's a little bit more decisive with his reads, and he's maybe a little less greedy to go after the big play as often as he is, and kind of takes more of what the defense gives him. That's kind of what I expect to see. It's going to be more of a methodical game from Caleb, and I expect it to be a relative clean game.
Your turn, Candice.
Thanks.
Why are you not prepared for class?
I was really listening to whatever you had to say.
Do you expect Caleb to recover? Do you expect him to be better than he has been the last 2 games?
I do. I absolutely think playing at Notre Dame is a challenge. I think that the standards for Caleb, they're just higher than most. And we expect a little perfection, and not perfection because we're critical, perfection because we want him to win again. We want to see him shine. We want the entire football America to see what we see in Caleb. So Notre Dame was shaky for him, but I haven't been to the Coliseum this season yet, but based off of what I've heard and what I've seen and the fans, the sideline, the energy.
What is that?
It's a raccoon. Just a pet raccoon.
It's the Midwest. It's how we roll.
Oh,
no, I totally expect for him to regain his composure, show up and show out for his fans. And I'm looking forward to this comeback for him.
What if I told you that Caleb Williams is going to throw for a lot of yards? I say he's going to. What if I told you that Caleb Williams has the opportunity, if he's put in the right position, to throw for a lot of yards, and USC has a position could be put in a position to score a lot of points? What if I told you guys that? Would you believe me?
I'd be very happy if it does.
Well, it is true, and I'll show you guys later. That's just a little cliffhanger for you guys to show you why he'll be able to expose this defense. I do want to tell you this, Ryan. Did you know October is the best month for sports? Did you know that?
I did.
Agreed.
Actually, yeah.
Do you know why? Let me tell you why. You got football, college football. You got MLB playoffs, NBA tip-off and NHL season starts. All happens in October. And if people want to take advantage of that, they could go to betonline.ag and get all the up-to-the-minute live lines, put in their wagers, collect a little bit of cash, and not only that, we'll give you a 50% match bonus if you put in promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV, and we'll give you up to 50% match bonus. That's betonline.ag where the game starts. So here's the deal.
It's also a great month because Jamal and Candice were born on the same exact day.
Absolutely.
So some universe or galaxy
that was not brought up. I'm offended that wasn't in your top 4. And it's ridiculous, frankly.
What's the over-under that we have a cake on next week's Thursday show?
We should go to BetOnline and see what that is. Hey, so I'm going to refer to the comments, and a lot of the comments that got on me because they didn't understand what I was saying. And I'm going to bring this up. A lot of people put the game on Caleb, right? And I think, Jamal, when we talked about this, you understood. And I was like, at one point in time, you have to have a championship defense, right? And championship defenses, those interceptions that Caleb threw, the score should have been 13-6 going into the halftime if you have a championship defense, right? You put Georgia in that situation as the number 1 team in the nation, it's 13-6. It may even be 10-6, right? You put Alabama, Florida, all these teams who have top-ranked defenses in that situation, they would be in a better situation, and they have a half to overcome it. I would like to see, and I always say this, I want to see a complete game out of we have yet to see a complete game out of all 3 phases. But I would like to see a dominant performance this week by the defense. I don't care they played a good game. They only gave up 290 yards and this and that. Well, the reason why is because they were in the red zone. They just gave up the touchdown once they were in the red zone. I want to see a dominant performance on red zone defense, 3 or less. I want to see multiple 3-and-outs. I just want to see Utah's offense get smothered. I want to start there. On offense, I'm disappointed in what Ryan said of how they're going to start rotating the offensive line and make something work. It's too late for that, man. It's way too late for that. We're going into game 8. We're going to game 8. We're about to go through the teeth of the schedule. This game right here was supposed to be like the first test. You remember I said, Candice, and you thought it was going to be prime, but I told you, no, it's not going to be until they see Utah.
You did say.
If they had Cam Rising, this game will be a legit test, right? And I was wrong about Notre Dame. They came out and played. They lost 2 games in a row, and Marcus Freeman had them ready to go. But this is supposed to be a legit test. Like, you're about to go and play you're about to go play Oregon and Washington, and you're rotating the offensive line, trying to figure the offensive line out. That's the most disappointing thing you could ever say in a press conference. And I don't understand why you would say that in a press conference. That means you're not ready to go play a championship game. You know what I mean? Like, you were supposed to sort that out.
The only thing I'll say to that, and I don't disagree with you. I mean, this thing should be figured out here going into game 7. But just to iterate what Coach Riley was saying is, because they did such a big rotation in the first 3 weeks. Remember, they were having an 8-9-man offensive line rotation for those first 3 games. They got enough tape to make this change if they so choose to. It didn't say they're going to for sure, but they have that option. So it's not necessarily a rotation. It's more of a, hey, we saw what other players can do, whether it works or not. So I'm not saying I agree or not. I'm just saying that It's not like they're going to this rotation. They've got these guys in positions that they've seen early in the season, and they might make a switch.
I want to go to Jamal because Jamal brought up a good point. Monday, his 3 points, right? So, Jamal, you remember your 3 points, how to beat USC?
Yep.
Do you see Utah fulfilling those 3 points? So can you go through those 3 points and just go through Utah and tell me about those 3 points? And do you see Utah fulfilling those 3 points?
Yeah, Fred, my 3 sort of ingredients for beating USC, one I mentioned is the ability to get pressure with 4 and then be able to drop 7 back and then have optionality with those 7 on what you want to do. Second is you have to have elite quarterback play yourself. and to have your signal caller understand time, score, situation, pace, rhythm, what your team needs. And then third is you have to be able to win in short yardage. On those 3rd and 2s, 4th and 2s, you got to be able to win that. When you look at Arizona, they were able to do 2 out of those 3 things. They had elite quarterback play, and they were dropping 8, but they couldn't win in short yardage, as evidenced late in that game and in overtime. Notre Dame can do all 3 of those things, as evidenced by Freeman. Hartman is an elite quarterback prospect, and then they had Estime in the short yardage. When I look at Utah, I think they can do 2 of those 3 things, but they don't have elite quarterback play. And I'd go so far as saying Utah might have the worst quarterback play of any Pac-12 team this season. I think they might be 12 out of 12 in terms of quarterback play. Maybe you could argue Arizona State. But when you look at what Stanford did to Colorado last week, when you look at Cal putting 40 on Oregon State, it's either 11th or 12th. So they're so poor at the quarterback position. That is why I believe USC is going to win this game, and I believe USC will cover, because it's just not enough stress on the other side of the ball. This is half a team. Now, granted, this half team is really talented on the defensive side of the ball, but they are so deficient at quarterback right now. I just don't foresee a scenario where they can hang in this game unless USC does them favors in terms of turning the ball. I mean, they're so desperate offensively right now that Vaki, their strong safety, ended up having to play running back for them last week. Did a phenomenal job, had 15 carries for 154 yards and a touchdown. But that's the state of affairs at Utah, where they had to pull a strong safety in, and he's become their leading rusher because they're just getting no quarterback play to speak of, and they can't just turn around and hand the ball to Quinten Jackson every play.
Candice, here we go. It's your turn. It's your time to shine.
Yeah.
You're standing in the middle of the Coliseum, in the locker room, standing on the SC. They're about to go out and run on the field. What do you tell this USC team before they run out on their field after being taken behind the barn shed? How do you recover? How do you get your team to recover? I want you to tell them from your coaching perspective. How do you tell them that?
So that starts in practice. It starts reinforcing what they do really, really well. Coaches are talking in the meetings what they don't do well and how they're going to fix it. Then I'm talking about in practice, we're focusing on what you do well. We're executing and competing. That's something I always tell my athletes. Execute, compete, and have grit. Don't come out there and overthink it. You talk about that a lot. There's a lot of things going on. They're not able to process it. Execute, compete, and just be a dog. So if I'm standing out there on this right here, I'm like, we in the Coli, boy. We out here, Bloods, Crips, and everything else, and everybody came out here to see you play. So let's go. You understand what I'm saying? Do you understand? You want to be the bottom of the best conference or the best of the entire college football? And then Lincoln Riley's going to say, thanks, Candice. But on some real stuff, I'm just telling them to execute. And the more I see you break down the defense and start to get an understanding, the more I'm standing on the sideline with practice and watching young players develop and understanding the schemes and understanding the gaps. And I get what you're saying now, where I'm like, where's the thing? Or tackles. No, that's not right. Do it again. Reiterating to the kids, this is proper. If you keep doing it wrong, you're going to feel confident in doing it like that. And then you're going to get exposed. So, be confident and execute what you do really, really well. Do one thing at 100%. Don't do a whole bunch of things at 15 and 20%.
I got you. I will say this. Yeah, I will say this. Everybody goes through a practice. Everybody goes through this.
I can't wait to go to practice because I will.
Well, no, everybody even goes through this in the season, no matter how good you are, because you played a bad game. And they say, every coach says, we're going back to the basics. Mm-hmm. And you just go back to just tackling and just going back and going over your base defense, because the whole season is a grind, right? And you have to go back to the basics. I think this was the game where SC had to be like, we're going back to the beginning and we need to reestablish and we need to do what we need to do and relay our foundation. We cracked our foundation. Well, the foundation's been cracking, but Notre Dame finally took the sledgehammer and put it right on the crack and broke it completely open, right? So we have to relay our foundation. And this needed to be the practice where they needed to relay the foundation. And we will see if they relay the foundation or they just let it crack and break open, right? And that's something that's going to be – that's what I'm really interested to see. What team comes out of that tunnel on Saturday, right? I want to see
Now,
if
can I
there's
ask
a
you a
team.
question?
Yes, you can.
Can you touch a little bit on some outside noise with Caleb? Do you feel confident that the mental of I'd say all the players like is restored, like with trust in their coaches coming out here to play on Saturday?
I think they are bought into. I think they are bought into what Lincoln Riley tells them. I think they are brought into the system, right? But I also think that the outside noise is different outside noise. This Caleb talking about he wants half of the team. So I think they are really brought into the system. Before we continue that, I just want to let everybody know on the Mighty 1090, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you guys listening. Hope the Trojans win. Fight on. See you guys Sunday on Victory Sunday. So to continue on, I think that they are bought into what Lincoln Riley's telling them. I think they are truly accepting of what's going on. I think Caleb has one or two issues, and I hope it's the latter. I think his first issue is that he's just finally smelling himself and his head is too big, and that he thinks he's the king of the world, which happens, right? It happens to everybody. Let me finish. And then I think the second issue is, and I think this was the issue last year, I think Caleb is just really, really smart. And I think sometimes when people are really smart, they get ahead of themselves. And he's smart, but he's also a 20-year-old kid, right? He's not smart as a 30-year-old man or 30-plus-year-old man, right? He's a 20-something-year-old kid. So, he's smarter than everybody his age. So he tries to overexceed his smartness, and it's not the right decision. And it happens. And then when you go and talk to him about it, he's like, oh, yeah, I get that. And I think it's the latter, right? I think it's the latter that he's too smart for his own good, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that sometimes him being too smart sometimes gets him in trouble. You know what I mean? Check out a play. Well, why are you checking that? Well, I checked into this, but it was there. You know what I'm saying? The one press conference.
But I mean,
Ryan, remember?
And that's why I asked that, because as an athlete watching him, I don't sense the full of himself, but I could see when people call you the king of LA and you got multiple professional teams there. That's a huge deal. But I sense that
that used to be normal, homegirl. They used to be at our practice.
Yeah, no, I know. I used to ride on those coattails right to Hollywood. Not a problem. But I say that to say all the schemes, all the man drops, all the gaps, all of the plays mean absolutely nothing if the guys are in the meeting room like, man, we did this the last whatever he talking about. I've seen my husband come home talking about what goes on in film, and they're not bought in. So that's where it's as much as they're feeding them the X's and O's, how much are they believing? How much are they bought into doing? And if they're not,
I'm not going to answer that question because I don't know, because I'm not in the meeting room.
Well, right? I can answer it clearly based off the body language of the USC football team.
If I was to guess,
right, Jamal, it's not a rocket science, right? Body language speaks everything. We're not running that play because we tried to run your play, and yeah, we almost got whooped on by Prime and them. And their $29 million budget. This
is my guess. If I was an offensive guy, I think they're completely brought in because they're putting up a bunch of points. If I'm a defensive guy, I would start to question,
19 missed tackles in a college football game on TV. Okay,
we're way down there. You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion, and that's how I can speculate. But I don't want to say, oh, they're not bought in, because just put it like this: if I say, oh, they're not bought in, and the right person listens to this, and the next thing you know, they're like, damn, he does have a point. Next thing you know, it's generating around the locker room. I don't want to be the catcher of USC's locker room.
Oh, well, I'll take that rap. I'll take that rap. Go ahead. Because I can see based off body language, based off missed tackles, based on, you're right, I never played a down of football in my life, but I know what it's like to be an athlete. I know what it's like to have coaches that you can't trust. I know what it's like to go out there and bust yourself, wake up at 6 a.m, doing weights, balance an entire schedule, taking the scrutiny. Back in the day, there was no social media. It used to be just maybe a podcast, maybe a sports TV. Now, these kids are under scrutiny of hundreds and thousands, even millions of followers that are seeing every one of their moves. So based off their body language, I do have some concern and some trust, or they completely trust their coaches and their coaches are failing them. So if you want to keep that, they got the bought in, cool. Keep doing that. Let me know how that works. You might want.
I don't know. I said I don't know.
Coach Al's whiteboard seems to know what he's talking about. So if somebody wants to swirl that around Los Angeles, do that.
Woo, it's coming.
I will keep it on you. What do you want to see? What do you want to see this weekend from Utah against Utah?
Against Utah, a dub and not a moral victory, Lincoln Riley, an actual dub. I want fireworks. I want them with the knife, the sword, saluting Detroit, like show out.
Oh man. All right. Let's go. Ryan,
I don't want to follow that. You go ahead, Jamal, whatever you
Jamal,
want.
Go.
Let's see.
I want to point out that it's great that Candice is in college football playoff form in week 8. This is Candice is what I'm hoping for the next 5-6 weeks here. You're in top form. Let me tell you, this is Georgia level form right here. So I greatly appreciate it. Fred, I think this game again. I think it's about how they execute. With this now book on Caleb. Look, this is going to be the third straight team that's going to drop 7 back, and how does he handle it? And again, where is his level of discipline? Where is his head at and his ability to sort of execute the playbook? I think he's going to be fine. He's a great player. He had one bad game. I think it's interesting, though, a lot of the noise, and Ryan, I think you mentioned this on social media, a lot of noise has come out this week, and it's sort of interesting timing with it all, the combination of the report of Caleb wanting equity in the team that drafts him, even though that was something that was brought up in July. There was an article today on Lincoln Riley potentially putting feelers out to the NFL and ultimately wanting to follow Caleb maybe to the NFL. And then, of course, there was the Caleb response to the press conference of the Notre Dame fan running on the field and taking the selfie with him. So it was a very interesting week of noise, let's put it this way, from a public relations standpoint. So putting all of that to bed, putting a professional front forward, and really executing. I think so much is being talked about in this game of how Caleb is going to handle the defense. That's sort of the marquee matchup. But the other side of the ball sort of fascinates me in a bizarro world type of way. In Seinfeld, there used to be this joke about the bizarro world. Yeah. And the other side of the ball is kind of the bizarro world because it's the team that can't stop anybody against the team that can't score, so something's going to have to give on that side. Utah hasn't crossed, they've crossed 30 points once. They have a hard time crossing 20 points. And SC has a hard time holding people under 40. Something's going to have to give on that side of the ball. And ultimately, whatever side of the ball that ends up, how that plays out will go a long way in determining this game.
Ryan, can you follow that?
I'll try. I'll do my best. Yeah, it's interesting about all the one thing I'll say about the noise outside. And I think I tweeted this. I think that's what Jamal's referring to is, Lincoln Riley is absolutely not Pete Carroll. And this USC team is not.
Say it again, Ryan.
Is not what it was in the early 2000s. It never will be. The times are different. It never will be. But I think from what I'm seeing, you guys could disagree, but from what I'm seeing is I haven't seen this level of hate for USC nationally in, the last recent times. And so USC's back in that form. Like everyone else outside of LA is hating SC. So for what it's worth, SC is back in that realm of the college football spectrum. But in terms of this game, agree with everything both you said. That the one thing I'll add on offense that I really want to see is, will Lincoln Riley, in terms of play calling, and will Caleb Williams take what the defense is giving them instead of forcing things? And you look at Utah's defense, yeah, they're 9th overall, but they still give up 4.79 yards per play. That's a first down every 2 plays, basically. So will you take what the defense gives you, methodically move down the field, stick to the run game when necessary, and allow Caleb Williams to have easy throws here and there and not force things? And if they can do that, then they'll be fine because, 5 yards a clip every play. You're moving the ball fine. So that's my biggest thing when you look at the offense is take what the defense gives you and not try to just be this firework offense all the time, because even after last week's debacle, they're still the second race offense in college football. So there's still that moniker of them, but let's just, play it maybe slower, not high and fast.
With that being said, Ryan, let's go to the Underdog Fantasy whiteboard. Because let's talk about what the defense is going to give USC, right? So we've been talking about a lot of defense, everything, right? So let's talk about what the offense is going to get from Utah. So this play right here, you see the guys are circled up. This guy's showing as a safety. This guy is showing that he's coming to blitz, right? This guy's right here. He's showing blitz all day. It is 5 down. It looks like they're either going to bring 5 or 6, right? Looks like they're playing man. You see that? Nobody over top. It looks like a straight cover 0. When you go to how the play develops, now you're asking, what is all this on? Now, first thing I'm going to show you is this right here. Boom. Wide open, right? The gray is a completely wide open area. If you really want to get into it, I could have colored this gray and I could have colored this gray up here. This right here is gray. This right here is gray. This guy was the guy that was on the line. He dropped. This was the guy actually who was up front. Oh, it's this guy. That's right. It was this guy right here. He showed blitz and he dropped. So they end up blitzing. If you see this guy right here, let me grab my pen and let's see if he'll show up black. But if you see this guy right here, this guy is what's called a cup. A cup or a pirate, all you do is you let the guys out and the defensive end comes around. Utah, believe it or not, gives up a lot. I watched a lot of film and I wanted to find the best one. And I thought this clip right here was the best one because they disguise in blitzes, which they've been seeing for the last 2 weeks. And then they're dropping into coverage, which gave Caleb a fit last weekend. The difference is Notre Dame was really sound and they had a lot covered up. Utah is not very sound what they're doing on their back end, and they're giving up a lot. Most good air raid guys, and we're saying Lincoln Riley is a good air raid guy, is going to take everything that you give. If you're going to play the rally game, well, I'll take 5. I'll take 5 all the way down the field. Eventually, I will even run something up the slot like they're doing right here. They ran this, but the only problem is this quarterback didn't wait, and he wanted to throw it right now, and it ended up being an interception. If this quarterback waits and let this guy clear us in here all day, that's a touchdown. This guy runs any route like this, that's a touchdown 100%. So all Lincoln Riley has to do is not be greedy, right? Take bite-sized chunks, and he's going to get a bunch of yards, a bunch of pass attempts, be able to run the ball, and then USC's defense should be able to USC's offense should be able to look like they recovered and bounce back this weekend. So they're going to get the disguises, right? But what they do on the backside of their disguises isn't as good as what Notre Dame did or even Arizona, right? So this one should be a little bit better. On top of that, I just want to see a complete game. I'm still at the complete game. I want to see all 3 phases be complete. And like I said earlier,
we're making shirts, Fred. When are we making shirts? Complete.
Whenever
a complete game.
I just want a complete game, man. If we get a complete game, 100%. If we get a complete game, Victory Sunday will be a lot better than it was last week.
In order to have a complete game, I think you need a completely competent and complete coaching staff.
All I'm gonna say is this is all I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna watch the game. I'm gonna drink my Stone Brewery Fight on Pale Ales. I drink my Stone Brewery Fight on Pale Ales and watch this victory. But I want the victory to be on cruise control. I don't want to have to step on the brake and press the gas. Nobody enjoys a road trip and you constantly have to keep your foot on the gas. Cruise control road trips are the best. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking for a cruise control victory. Even if the score, let's just say, I'm just giving a number, but even let's say the score is 24-7. But the 24-7 looks so dominant and so easy, right? They're like, okay, I'm happy with this. You know what I mean? Or let's just say 35-7. Right? But the 35-7 is like, oh, they look like they were the better team. They were dominant, no hiccups. They cruised to the victory, right? That's all I'm looking for. Just one weekend. I just want one weekend of that, and I will be so happy. There'll be the Sunday live show will be the happiest Sunday live show you'll ever see me. I might have mimosas. I don't know. I'll be going crazy.
You better be happy with 35-7. That'd be pretty dominant. That'd be pretty great.
That's Fred, the one thing I'd like to add about the taking what the defense gives you in this particular game, I completely agree. I see it very similarly to what you and Ryan say. But the one thing you have to ensure when you do that is you have to play a clean game. Because if you just take an example, I'm just going to do simple math here. Let's say you get the ball, goes back of the end zone, you start at the 25-yard line. That means you got to go 75 yards to get a touchdown. If you're getting 5 yards of play, that's a 15-play drive. And a 15-play drive, in today's day and age with the running clock in college football, that's a 6-minute, 7-minute drive. And so when you factor that in, with Utah's probably going to turn around and run the ball 50 times in this game. Between Quinten Jackson and Vaki, I think either Nate Johnson or Barnes, I think they're going to be at under 15 pass attempts in this game because I don't think there's any evidence that they can throw the ball more than that. And what it does is it takes away USC's lone strength on defense, which is that pass rush with the front. So when you have another team that's probably going to run right around 50 times a game, and you're just going to take what the defense gives you, what does that mean? The clock is going to be moving really fast. There's going to be a lot fewer possessions in this game, and I think that's where Utah wants it to be. And if there's fewer possessions in this game, you have to be clean, especially once you get into the red zone. You can't afford the holding penalties. You can't afford dumb executional mistakes, and you certainly can't afford any turnovers because that's what will keep Utah in this game with an opportunity for an upset late. So I just want to point out that you got to take what the defense gives you, but to this game more than any other, they have to be clean penalties and turnovers wise because the margin for error, unlike in games past, was a lot higher. They make one mistake, it's fine. They can get the ball back and make up for it. Here, we're probably looking at a world where each team has the ball total probably 8 times or under. I think there's going to be 8 possessions or less for each team, just given what Utah is going to give up defensively and what they want to do offensively.
I could definitely see that, Jamal, and that's why I say I just want a complete game. That's why, and I'm 100%. I agree with you. I want a complete game, and I also want the defense to come out and just show that they at least have a championship fiber in their structure. That's all I want, right? So say Caleb does throw the ball and they get it on their 49. Hold them to 3. Make them punt. Those are the things I want to see now because, like, we're moving down to the bottom fourth of the season. You know what I mean? Like, and teams are getting better, and it looks like we're regressing. We need to start showing that we're getting better so we get an opportunity, you know what I mean, to play in the college football playoffs, right? So those are the things I just want to see. I don't know if it makes it any better. Let's go around the horn. Candice, give me a score for this weekend. Come on, you can give me a score. No? Ryan, give me a score this weekend.
Let her think.
She said no. She was like, mm-mm.
I don't even want to do it. Last time I made a score, but it was prime and the thing. Yeah, nah. I'll reserve it. I'll keep with my pep talks and energy. You guys do scores and spreads.
All right.
Okay. Score. I will go 31 USC, 24 Utah.
Man.
They push the spread.
Yeah, Rye was real close to me. I was going to say 34-24 SC.
I think I'm going to stay with what I said earlier. I think I'm going to go 35-14. Right? When you
touchdown, not 35-7.
Nah, 35-14. When you factor in everything that we said, right? And Jamal saying 8 possessions, a lot of running clock. I don't think, you know what I mean? I don't think there's going to be a lot of possessions. So 35-14. Yeah. As long as they look dominant, I'll be happy with it. That's all I want. That's all I'm begging. I'm like a wife whose husband keeps cheating on her, and I'm just begging for him to stop cheating. Just give me a complete game. I just want one complete game, and I'm good.
See,
what is that
example
analogy? What is I'm not following. The complete game is what the spouse doesn't cheat, or it's like a date night, or
I don't know. I don't know. I watched a lot of Waited to Exhale and all that stuff growing up. That's just all I can think. I'm just begging.
And that's a bad you don't want that example because a cheating husband is always going to cheat. They're never going to be right. So think of another analogy.
I'm just begging. I'm just on my knees begging. Just guys, Trojans, listen to me. Caleb, Mason, kicker. I can't think of his name. Just give me one complete game. That's all I want. Just one complete game. Dustin Lynch. I just want one complete game. That's all I want from you guys. And then we could build on it from there. But just give me one game where all 3 phases are perfect. That's all I'm asking. Just once.
That's the clip for the week. I'll make sure to chop this one up for socials. There's our prayer clip.
That's all I'm asking. Guys, I appreciate you guys, man. It's been fun. Candice is fired up. She's ready for Wake Up D. Live in the D. I get
Wake
it
Up D? What is that? Sounds like something much different than morning news.
I don't want to hold Jamal up because he's probably splitting some type of nuclear atom to make.
No, not at all. Not at all. You know, I'm actually gonna go to my parents' house for some Indian food after this. So yeah, no, it's totally the opposite of splitting
butter chicken.
The atom.
Butter chicken.
You know it.
Yeah, butter chicken and rice. Basami.
Wasami? That's not Indian.
Basami rice.
Oh, basmati. Yeah.
You
Basmati rice.
sound like you eating the Trader Joe's meal. They got that meal at Trader Joe's.
Wasami's not Indian.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, that's perfect. And Ryan, I know what Ryan's plan is. Got to put the little one to bed and finish watching the game.
That's right. Go. Daddy duties.
My plan is. Yep.
Well, I hear mine right now. It sounds like they got hands on an Orbeez gun, and it's close to 11 o'clock here, so it'll be good.
Thank you guys for joining. We appreciate all your views. We appreciate everything you guys do. We love all your comments, especially Jamal, because he loves to check in on his fans. No, I'm joking. But hey, go to underdogfantasy.com. Use promo code USC LAFB to get $100 match. Like I said, we appreciate you. We can't wait for Saturday. Hoping for that complete game. We'll see you guys on Sunday for Victory Sunday to celebrate again. You know how it goes. Live free, fight on.